Welcome to Press Party. It's turning into one of the worst product rollouts since New Coke. The president is trying to convince everyone that the new Affordable Health Care Act is working. Not many people are buying it, and now a top cabinet member's in trouble.
There are people in this country who have waited decades for affordable health coverage.
And they're still waiting. The rollout of Obamacare, it's now the Affordable Health Care Act, just keeps getting worse and worse.
A 62-year-old in Charlotte looking for the same basic plan would get a price estimate on the government website of $394. The actual price is $634. Now, industry executives we talked to literally could not believe the government is providing these estimates, which they said were useless.
A sure sign of just how big a PR disaster this has become. The president marched out to say how angry he was, but sounded more like an infomercial.
The phone number for these call centers is 1-800-318-2596.
People did call, but the line was busy. Now the question is, who will take the fall first as the story approaches Watergate-like proportions? What did the president know, and when did he know it?
Do you know when he first knew that there was a problem?
Well, I think it became clear fairly early on, the first couple of days, that...
So not before that, though? Not before October 1st?
And seemingly the only White House defenders left are lonely liberals like Chris Matthews, desperately demanding his guests.
I want you both, gentlemen, to be positive. We only got a few minutes here. Help the viewer, help the consumer at the same time. Anish, what can be done to improve what's wrong?
For Press Party, I'm Joe Battenfeld. All right, Councilor Tito Jackson, we're going to you first. You're the Democrat. Any recommendations for the president to fix this?
Well, I recommend that you don't compare it to the new Coke. That's really extreme. No, but I admit that this is a botched implementation, especially from a technology perspective. I think being forthright with it on the earlier in, would have been helpful. But I also think, though, that this same type of media scrutiny did not occur when the Medicare Part D program was inefficiently rolled out to seniors. And we rolled it out to seniors, and we said you have to just jump online and sign up. And that didn't work out.
This is a much bigger deal, though, much more expensive. I mean, I don't know what they spent on the website stuff, but obviously they hired the wrong people to do it. 10-year-old technology. Yeah. How do you do that? You know, you're a technology guy.
They began with open source, and I would have suggested having people who do hacks. I'm sorry, in your paper you define hack as something different, but in the technology space,
at least Howie
definitely does. But again, there's a lot of folks that we could have actually worked together to pull this together.
Like the private sector, people actually know how to do this stuff, like Amazon people. You know, can you imagine if Amazon had these problems? It wouldn't, Yeah.
I haven't seen a rollout this bad since maybe Senator Wolf's gubernatorial campaign.
That's an insider.
Sorry about that.
It's
or
okay.
Maybe Katy Perry's latest album. I got 2 daughters, so I keep track of these things. But no, I actually was at a healthcare summit down in Baltimore 2 years ago with legislators from across the country. And they were talking, I think I was supposed to be there to promote, how well it was going in Massachusetts. But what I heard was that with 2 weeks to go at that time, the federal government hadn't even given them their models for the federal exchanges that they could select. So 2 weeks before their deadline, they didn't even have what the models were supposed to be. So really no surprise. But actually, I would say, we're talking about media, the president and the White House has done a great job of suppressing a lot of the kinks that have been going on for so long, and it's finally happening.
That's the problem. I think that if they just admitted it and we're open to say, you know what, this was bad, okay, we're going to start over, we might have to delay it a little, and just be honest about it.
Right, and that's public relations 101.
Right.
In this instance, when Obama had his, and I'm for Obamacare, but a terrible rollout, and it's just awful. And what the press strategy should have been is, you get up there and you say, we made a mistake, it's just not working, and admit it, and then say, we're going to go out and fix it. Now, you don't give a 1-800 number because you know immediately what's going to happen is everybody's going to call that number, and you're going to create another log, and that's going to be the next story in the paper.
Exactly what happened. Here's the thing. I think that the president should call up the Tea Party members and call them up and say, thank you very much, because during the original rollout, instead of talking about how bad the healthcare website was doing, we were talking about the government shutdown.
Right, they were trying to get political advantage out of it, which is
so
the
for
same
a while,
thing.
the media was focused on covering the shutdown.
Right.
Now the shutdown is no longer, so where are we going to go? We're going to go back
So
to
wait,
the bad website.
Did the Republicans get to say, by the way, we were saying delay this a year, maybe we're right about this whole thing and delaying it a year?
Well, the Republicans, if they had just focused on health care and avoided the government shutdown, they would be in much better political shape right now.
I agree. I'm not saying it was handleable, but they ultimately were right. Let's put it off a year at least.
No, and a couple things. One, I absolutely agree with you. I think that
Yay.
I don't know what happened. Please, get this on camera, please. But I absolutely agree because there was this huge distraction of the actual shutdown that was happening. Now, do they get to do what you said? No, I don't think so, because what ended up happening is they continue to bring up this issue, and you actually have blended these issues, right? By fighting Obamacare, voting on it 40 or 60 times, and that connection with the rollout, I think you've now given more justification as to why it didn't roll out.
I think this story's got a lot more to go because the fact of the matter is it's not just the implementation and this website issue. It's like we saw in the clip, the costs, the actual costs on this thing are twice in some cases what we people were told it was going to be. I mean,
I think what they need to do is just stop all the politics on both sides and say this is a serious issue. Because honestly, if they don't sign up the people they want to sign up, that could put the whole program in jeopardy because it won't be able to pay for itself, and they could be in big trouble. And so they should just say enough of this. Obviously, there's a problem here, and let's figure out.
There's one other thing. The local secretary here in Massachusetts that's responsible to tour the state and sort of talk about this healthcare rollout won't come on our radio show. They graciously declined to come on.
I told them not to.
But the other thing is,
they can't take questions from Hillary and I mean, good luck dealing with the rest of the
they're handing out flyers at the
But please understand this, just to make it clear, this is a private sector program. The government didn't create this computer program. It outsourced it to the private sector. Obamacare is essentially the government requiring people to buy private health insurance.
But the government
so it's not a
running
government run.
They were running
it's managing. What happened is they set up unrealistic deadlines to begin with, and that's obviously what's happening here.
Right.
And also some of the protocols that were set up. There's 5 million bad lines of code under one estimate in the New York Times in this process. Wow. Now, the government didn't cause that code to happen. It was people who were writing the code in the private sector. So there were errors made there. The problem is, at the end of the day, Obama's got to take responsibility for this thing and say, we're going to fix it, and they're already postponing some of the implementation.
Right.
So we're going to hold off until we get this thing fixed, and we'll get back to you.
But here's the time, when the New York Times is going against you, with
Well,
the Democratic president, you're in trouble.
You get the last word.
And while this happens,
and Sanjay Gupta,
the Tea Party and the Republican Party, chill out. Stop bringing this up. It's settled law right now. It's not a settled implementation, and maybe the pause button could actually get hit if folks weren't trying to take it off
the
table
administration though has to treat it differently. They can't just go. They're treating it like it's a campaign issue and like trying to do damage control that way. They should just forget about that and just try to fix the website. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, thanks, and stay right here on BostonHerald.com. Make your own comment on the Press Party chat. I'm sure you want to, and don't miss our media fail of the week.